Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Chris Targett from Social for Brokers, and Chris is back onto the podcast. He first came onto the podcast back in September 2021, so it's been a while since Chris has been on, been a while since we've caught up. I wanted to get his take on just in terms of content creation, what's happening in the mortgage broker social media space right now. So let's just get Chris onto the podcast. You're listening to the Mortgage Broker broadcast with me, Craig Skelton, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. So welcome back onto the podcast. Chris, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me back on. It's been about 18 months, we were saying beforehand.
Yeah, it is. You don't realise how it is 18. Well, we recorded it in August 21, so that is quite a decent amount of time ago. And I think it came out I'm looking at my notes, can you see to the side? Episode 25 of season 1, which was in September 2021. So yeah, it is well over 18 months ago. And it just, wow, like how much has changed for you? How much has changed for me? How much has changed in the world since we last spoke? So loads to catch up on.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. That's episode 25. So what number are we on now, roughly?
We're past the 100, so we're now into the hundreds, and we've just had the 2-year anniversary. So like we've literally been going for just over 2 years now. So I'm trying not to look at the numbers. I'm more about the time, but obviously I need to be aware of we're in season 3 and 2 years in. So
awesome, mate. And have to say, testament to the podcast. I see it all over LinkedIn, and I love the snippets that you do with people. And that's where, to be honest with you, we've done the same with ours, because I saw you did it and I thought, yep, it's a great idea. And then you just do like 60-second like highlights of the podcast. So testament to the podcast, mate. It looks like you're absolutely smashing it out the park.
No, thank you very much, and thanks for that feedback. And I'll claim that I'll claim that one about the reels. It was Ashley that tell me to do that, so don't worry about that.
Oh, was it right? We'll give Ash a shout out as well, because we all moved in the same circles.
Yeah, exactly. But no, thank you. Like I appreciate you sort of coming back on, and I appreciate your feedback on the podcast, because it is you podcast. You've got amazing guests on your podcast. You've been running yours a long time, and it is quite like, from a podcaster's point of view, you think about, you keep going, you keep recording, you keep getting back your guests back on and things like that. But it's not until the people reach out and the brokers that we work like that you don't know, you don't know who they are, you've no connection with them, they're connected with you on LinkedIn. And it's those kind of things that you really think, when they reach out and sort of say, Craig, just wanted to reach out and say, thank you so much for the podcast. Looking at becoming a self-employed mortgage broker 6 months ago, downloaded all your content, listened to it all, and just thanks so much. And I'm building a business, and that's what I'm doing. And I just want to thank you for your help. It's those, you get motivated by that, don't you, Chris? I think that's 100%. The thing.
And if I tell a little story from when we did the podcast, when I started our podcast, I remember being in my third bedroom, and it was pitch black outside, and I'd set myself an evening and I was going to record 4 podcasts. And the first one was a bit of like an introduction as to who I am, where I've been, what I do, and what my podcast was going to be about. And I remember sat there with my cup of tea like this, hands round it, sweating, shaking, trembling voice, going, oh my God, I'm recording a podcast. It's so scary. And that is, when you start a podcast, it's horrible, isn't it? Because you don't want to stutter. To then get messages, as you said, like 2 years later, really lovely, positive messages saying, Chris, just want to say, I've really enjoyed the podcast. The message that they're sending me has no other reason other than to say, thanks for what you're doing. Kind of makes it all worth it when you think back to that first night when I'm sat there, almost like trembling, going, oh my God, this is so scary, to where it is now. It's lovely. And obviously you have the same thing. And I'd like to talk a bit about how people could use a podcast, especially mortgage advisors, or like a video channel in this episode, of how it could help them really generate business. It'd be interesting to talk about that concept as we go along.
No, totally. I'm you know, there's no agenda. We've gone straight into it. I don't think you need an introduction, Chris. I think everybody sort of sees your branding, your content, and like I say, going back to what you said, and I appreciate your feedback. The same for me. Whenever I speak to brokers, speak to new brokers, you're one of the people that say, look, you need to conquer things like your social media. You need to conquer, and like you say, the things we're going to talk about. But if you want to know something about Canva, Chris is your man, like literally top tips, free stuff in there, and which I absolutely love that. I think that's like amazing that, and I do. You part like you come on my feed every single day. I take your top tips. I do use Canva Pro, not enough at the moment, but I certainly, with your help and with the knowledge that you share, then I appreciate it. But yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the podcast, because like I say, I think what people tend to don't understand, and I obviously can't wait to get your feedback on thoughts on this, but because people, the principles of firms and the firms owners, that when I first started doing the podcast, didn't sort of say, well, and I still get this now. Well, how much money do you make out of the podcast? How much income does it generate for you? And it's sort of like, well, it depends on how you quantify income in terms of why you do it. And I think that sometimes we get too hung up on when we're doing the content or the social media and the posts and podcasting and videos. It's all about, well, how many followers have I got? How many likes am I getting? How many this, how many that? When actually, the reason why I do it is to help people become self-employed
Yeah.
mortgage brokers. I will never generate. I will generate some income from it, absolutely. But generally speaking, I don't generate any income from doing a podcast.
And that's the thing in this world where we can measure everything. And I'll go on to social media in a minute, but when we can measure everything and we can analyze everything, it's very easy to say how much money has that returned me. But if we think back to pre-internet days, so even like probably 30 years ago, say, for example, could you say to a company, what's the return in investment on a billboard? It's very, very hard to quantify that. We're only now looking at how to quantify social media or podcasting or videos because we can look at some of the figures, but you cannot make a direct correlation between me appearing on this podcast and then how much business it would generate me in the next 12 months. What you've got to think about, and this is what I love about the industry that we're in and the time that we're in, is you've just got to give people as much value as possible. And I know that seems really, really corny, but I don't care. That is what this time is about. Give as much value as you possibly can, and you'll reap the rewards from it. And you see that all over the media. What's happening with these big companies now is the marketing companies are making these brands give people something back for them to use them. It's no longer that you can just ask for business and get it. So you've got to do your videos, your podcast appearances. And I'm going to talk about an idea that I've had that I've kind of taken from somebody called Gary V, that I think mortgage brokers and the likes of estate agents could do this by having like a local TV channel. But before we get into it, if I give you a bit of a background to who I am, I run Social for Brokers. We're huge on branding companies' social media posts and putting out topical, relevant content. So you can see I've got everything branded now. We've got on the front, the back, we've got the sign, we've got the mug that side. So it's all about drip feeding your brand in people's social media feeds, because there's so much noise on social now. So many people upload to social media. They simply don't take in every single post that you put out. And that's fine. That's the way the world is now. But if they scroll past your post and your post has a consistent color, a consistent theme, logo, and font, what they will do is they will take your branding even if they don't read the post. So a perfect example I always use is the carrier bag analogy, that if you see somebody walking down the street with an orange carrier bag, you automatically know it's Sainsbury's. You don't have to look at the logo. And no other supermarket would dare open a brand that was bright orange.
No.
That's the strength you need to get your social media posts to in your local area or in your niche. That if you were, for example, I'm blue and orange, and a perfect example is somebody messaged me a couple of years ago and said, I saw a bus in Manchester that was blue and orange, and I honestly thought of you first. That's the strength you want to get it to. So in your local area, if you're purple and your posts are purple, 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 another mortgage broker would never think or wouldn't be stupid enough to open a brand that was purple. No. But then the second thing is, if anybody in that local area sees a purple post on social media or a purple billboard, even if it's not your company, they will think it's yours. So that's the big thing that we are about colour.
And I can give you a honest sort of, we've not spoke about this before, but as you can see from my background, I'm a bit of a Formula One fan. Week in, week out, I'm very I will take in as much as I can. And I just thought you were sponsored. I thought McLaren and Social for Brokers were exactly the same because you're exactly the same colour, the orange and the
I'm
blue.
not an F1. Is it orange and blue as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you look at this, the orange and the blue. So as soon as I see the orange, Chris is back on the F1 again circuit, and fair enough, he must be doing well being able to sponsor McLaren. So,
imagine it, yeah. It's like a sport I've never been into. I tell you what, I saw the other day. It was on Channel 4, and I think it was maybe Formula 3 or something. And there was a DeWalt car, and it was bright orange. I was like, oh, that's quite cool. But
yeah. Sorry, we digress a little bit there, but no, that it was relevant to what you were talking about, because that for me is because I see your content every single day, and if I saw something else that was the blue and orange and somebody were putting some content out there, I would automatically think that they were associated to you, not it's something that they're doing. So I get totally what you're saying with that.
Definitely. And it's like the old brochures on the fridge magnet. So whenever you had it through the door, I don't know if people grew up with this, but you get through the door a booklet of all the local tradespeople, whoever that may be. And on the front page, somebody would pay for a sponsored post on the front, say if it was the local carpenter. And that booklet would have a magnet on the back, and it was always stuck to the fridge. Every morning when I went for my breakfast, even though I wasn't looking at that brochure, I was taking that branding every time I went to go to get the milk. So then when it comes to, I need a carpenter, that would be the first one to think of, because I'm seeing them every day. That's what there you go. There's a tagline for you. Make your social media feed like your fridge. Just have your social media posts front and center. And it's all about being consistent. And if anybody follows any of my stuff, I always say upload at least 3 times a week. Make it topical, make it relevant, but also upload personal content as well.
And that's the thing, is you can. It's about you've got clarity from yourself with that, because brokers do ask me about in terms of I'm posting once a week and I'm not getting any traction, and you've just got to get that consistency out there. What's your take on every day, Chris? What's your thoughts on that?
So it's interesting, actually. We did a bit of an experiment back in September, I think it was, and what we did is we posted 3 times a day for a month. So 90 posts went out, and that isn't including stories or anything. So I think we were doing 3 posts a day and then probably about 5 stories a day. So if you think 8 pieces of content a day, It took a lot.
Wow,
our engagement, shot through because there's more stuff out there. So yes, it will increase, but you're not going to have the time to do that. It's very similar when people say to me, should I have a different strategy for Facebook, to Instagram, to LinkedIn, to TikTok? Yes, you should, but you can't. It's as simple as that. It's so hard running your business, let alone thinking of different posts for each channel. So why not use your post that you put on Facebook, put it out there on Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok if you can do. Don't overthink it at the beginning. Be consistent and just be relentless with it. Get your content out there, because only about 30% of your audience will see a post. So a lot of people will come to me as well and say, well, I posted about that last week. Yeah, but only 30% of your audience saw it. So let's do it again. And just reaffirm that fact. I promise you, if you did the same 3 posts every week of the month, you will not have one person message you and say, you've already done that post. People aren't bothered. I know that sounds really bad. The person who watches your content the most and will see your content the most is you. We're all guilty of it. We all watch our own stories. We all criticize our posts, but people aren't that massively bothered about what you've got to say. So that's why you've got to really catch their attention for them to read that post.
Totally agree. And I learned that because I 5 days a week I'm posting it. I was doing it 7 days a week. I'm quite relaxed a little bit at the weekends just to sort of see how that differs. I noticed a difference in terms of my reach and things like that from if I were posting every single day, 7 days a week. I do notice that. But I was started thinking, you sat there at the start of the month thinking I need to create 28, 31 pieces of content. But then as soon as you start realizing, like you say, I started to the evergreen stuff and putting that back out 3 months later, thinking, oh, that was a really good post that got quite a bit of traction. I'll put that back out there so I'm not stressing about creating 28 or 31 total new piece of content every single month, because like you say, if it's only going to 30%, then and nobody's going to say to you, Chris, you posted about that last week. They're just not, like you say. And funny you should say that, because somebody else said that the other day, exactly the same thing. People aren't that bothered. You can't sort of read that too much into it, because the only ones that are really critical of your post, like you say, are you. That's fact.
And that's it. And we're our worst critic, aren't we? But when it comes to social media, please don't try and overthink things. That, say, for example, we sell a content calendar and people can give us a message and it's £120 and it gives you an idea for a post every single day of the week. So you can go in there, have a look at it and go, right, today I can do that post, or today is National Pet Day, or whatever it might be. Okay. It gives you all the ideas, but I'm going to run off 5 ideas here that you could post about this week. So today you could do a good news story. And remember, that doesn't have to be a good news story about this week. It could have been somebody 3 years ago that you helped somebody secure their first ever home. Okay. The day after that, you then can do a customer review. You can take that from Google. So there's a 2 bits of content I haven't really had to think about. The third one is look at an awareness day calendar online. So it'll give you loads of different, like World Tortoise Day or Clean Your Shoes Day kind of thing. So the 11th of April is National Pet Day. So upload a photo of your pet, or ask for your customers to send in photos of your pets. Day 4, we haven't spoken about business yet. We've done 3 posts that are all don't really have to have any major input from you. Number 4, you do a post about how some fixed rates are starting to come down, even though the base rate went up. That's something interesting. If you want to speak to us about your mortgage, give us a call. And then the 5th post, you could look at some figures of how many people are diagnosed with cancer every year. Are you protected against it? And that's 5 posts there. And you don't really have to think much about what am I going to post. That's done.
Yeah.
So use those 5 posts, go and create them. The best thing you can have in your office for social media content is a pad of paper and a pencil. And all you need to do is whenever you're on a call with a client, if they ask you a question, how much can I borrow, Craig? Write that down. That's a social media post. What's the difference between critical illness cover and life insurance? Write that down. These are questions that Mike Smith, who's on the phone, want answers to. And then I bet you 80% of your social media audience want answers to the same question as well.
Yeah. And even if they don't want the answer today, they will want that answer to that question at some stage in their lives. So
definitely. And I got this actually from Ben Moore, who's an estate agent, and he talks about social media content as a dartboard. And every dart that you throw, you want to be trying and hitting the bullseye. And that piece of content, the bullseye, is to get that client to phone you. Okay. Over the course of a year, you might be throwing darts at that dartboard and they're hitting the 5, they're hitting the 10, triple 20, whatever it might be, but they're missing the bullseye. But then when you throw that one dart, that one piece of social media content that says, are you struggling to remortgage or being told no by your bank? Give us a call. It hits the bullseye, and that's when they call you. Without throwing the other 20 darts over the last year, you're never going to hit that bullseye. So that's why you need to put more content out there.
Excellent. Great analogy. I love that.
Yeah, I really liked it. And
yeah.
I always give him credit for it because it wasn't me that thought of that one. But think of your social media content like a dart on a dartboard. There will be one that hits the bullseye, but you need to keep trying.
And you're not going to know. The thing is, you don't know which one, do you? So you just got to keep throwing the darts because you're never going to know which one's going to hit the bullseye.
Exactly. And your client will never phone you up and say, hi, Craig, I want to book an appointment. The reason I want to book an appointment is you talked about green mortgages on the 14th of April, 2023. Can we book They're never going to say that. But what will have happened is they've watched your content for 6 months. They've seen that you're a thought leader, the social proof that other people have used you. You've uploaded a few photos of the dog. And when I pick up the phone to Craig, I can say, how's Buster getting on? Do you know what I mean? That's where social media is really good for you.
Definitely. Definitely. It certainly is. So tell me about Gary Vee then you mentioned before, because I do enjoy the reason why Gary Vee is again brand to do with the New York Jets. So he's obviously a massive New York Jets fan. Know all these stories about how he got into the US and why he came about New York Jets and his mum did like all those sorts of things. And my wife's a massive New York Jets fan, so just
Oh, is
I'm
she?
aware, yeah. So I'm
Ah.
aware of, like, I follow him on social, but and the Jets point of view as well, but obviously from a business point of view as well, is a very successful guy. So yeah, I'm interested when you mentioned about Gary Vee, like pretty amazing, thinking, oh, I am interested to hear about
Yeah,
this.
so a little bit of a story about Gary Vee and the background to him. So he runs probably one of the most successful marketing agencies in the world. He's looked after the likes of K-Swiss, Pepsi Max. He did the peanut butter brand and did like Super Bowl adverts for it. And his goal is to buy the New York Jets. The reason he wants to buy them, he absolutely loves them. His mum knitted a jersey for him when he was a kid with the number 5 on the back. So whenever you see Gary Vee in a photo, he always puts up his hand 5, and he released the story to say the reason that he puts 5 up and the reason he wants to buy the New York Jets is his mom couldn't afford to buy him a New York Jets jersey, so she knitted him one, and he said, when I grow up, I'll buy the New York Jets for you, mom. And that's kind of where it comes from. But so Gary Vee, he F's, he blinds, he curses. So if it's not for you, maybe stay away from his content. But his stuff is gold. And there's one thing that's always stuck with me that I think is the next stage in marketing. And what it is instead of trying to hit a national audience with your mortgage brokerage, is to really try and niche down into your local area. And the way that I would do this would be to be your local TV channel. Okay. So
Right.
what I would do, I would start a YouTube channel and I would go around the local area and set up interviews with all of the people that are influencers in the local area. So I'm talking about the headmaster or headmistress of the local school. I'm talking about the local butcher, somebody that owns a small business, somebody that owns a dog walking business, whoever it may be, all the small business owners. Okay. And I would interview them. And what I would do is create a YouTube channel for, say, I lives in Smithson, the village. So
Yeah.
Smithson TV. And what I would do is interview all of these people and talk to them about the local area. Okay. So how's the school performing? Where's the best walks to take the dog on? What's the best seller in your shop at the moment? And that does 2 things. The first thing, it shows you're local and it shows you know about the area. So if there's somebody moving out of area into your area, they could essentially watch that TV channel. But the second thing is, when you're interviewing these people, they'll do the advertising for you. So what they will do is, imagine you've interviewed the dog walker. They are going to tell their friends that they've been interviewed by you. Go and watch my interview. And then on the video, you would literally have your logo at the bottom, or say on the interview, you could kind of bring a bit of a property section into it and just go, just to let you know, remember, guys, we help with mortgages, so you can always give us a call. But be your local TV channel, because what will happen is when you're doing these videos, people will get to know your face. Okay. So, like, for example, Craig doing his podcast here, if I was looking to go under CS mortgages, okay, I can pick up the phone to Craig. I already know what he looks like. I already know what he sounds like. I know how he drinks his tea or whatever it might be that he's mentioned on the podcast. So it's very easy for me to speak to him. Imagine that as a client in your local area. They've watched Smith's TV and you've been on it every week for the last 6 months. They can pick the phone up to you and go, "Oh, you interviewed my mate Dave that does the dog walking. Let me have a chat about my mortgage." And that, I think, is the biggest thing. The first person to do that in their local area, in whatever business it might be, you can be a mortgage broker, you could be an estate agent, you could be a local shoemaker, whoever does it first will own that area.
Yeah. And like I say, whoever does it first will own that area one, because it is all
Mhm.
about local, like niching local in terms of the whole local community, buying local. That's the whole that sort of concept and movement that we're moving towards.
Definitely. And then look, it opens up other revenue streams then. You can be sponsored by local companies. So imagine you do a video and then the I don't know what other companies could be. Local baker says, "Look, we really want a pitch on your social channels. Can at the bottom of your YouTube video put our logo, and we'll pay you 50 quid a video, or whatever it might be. It's another revenue stream. And I know that's going further down the line, but I just think it's huge, and I think that's the biggest thing that people can do, is to set up a local TV channel. And it doesn't seem direct. It's like, well, why are you interviewing
exactly.
local people?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, it doesn't sound like a pitch. It doesn't sound direct. It's not. Like you said, the first person that does it will then own that area. Absolutely. And the thing is, as well, is that, like, you podcast, Chris, you do, like, you obviously on YouTube and do the rest of it. And when you're interviewing people, it's about the guest. It's 80% of the time it's about the guest. So you really, all you're doing is facilitating the conversation. So you're not,
Yeah.
you don't need to be the expert on what's happening in local schools or the Ofsted report or what's going on with that new baker that's opened and what's going on. It doesn't have that. That's for them to talk about. You don't need to know about it. It's just you're facilitating the conversation. So if you can talk to people and have a conversation, like most mortgage brokers can, because that's what they do every single day of their lives, and talking to people for the first time, it's just a natural progression then to think, do you know what a cracking idea that is. What an absolute great idea, especially now that the weather's better as well. So it's the start of the spring, start of the summer. Yeah, what a great idea.
I think it'd be huge. And then what I would do at the end of so I'd do questions like, how's the local school getting on? What's your Ofsted rating? What's going on in the school? Are there any local events you want to kind of like speak about? Imagine the amount of parents that would watch that video from the headmaster. And then at the end, you'd turn around and go, look, say if I was interviewing you, Craig. Right, Craig, you know that I'm in the property. You know that I'm a mortgage broker. I'm not pitching anything. What was the name of the first street you grew up on? Okay. And then, and where would your dream house be in Smith's Village? Oh, well, it'll be on that road. I absolutely love that road. Well, if you ever need a mortgage for us, you know where to come. And I've not pitched at all.
Yeah,
Now, that video, that headmaster is going to turn around, or headmistress is going to turn around and say to all the parents, they might put it out on an emailer and go, just to let you know, we've been interviewed by Smith's TV. You might have seen them in YouTube. Here's a link to the video if you want to know what's going on in the school in the next 6 months. All the parents watch it. Oh, he's a mortgage broker. Awesome. Then when you've built your audience up, say even if you've only got 100 people on your Smith's TV channel, you would do a video. So you've done 10 interviews. Then you upload a video to YouTube. All the people that are subscribed will get a notification to say you've uploaded a new video. And on that video, you go, guys, I don't really talk about business on this channel, but just to let you know, I am a mortgage broker. If you need any help with your mortgage, then make sure you reach out to us. And that's it. And then 20 videos down the line, you do the same again. But slowly but surely, what will happen is those people that you've interviewed will do the talking for you. And then guess what? When you've finished interviewing that headmistress and you've asked about the school and you're having a little chin wag at the end, what do you think she's going to say? Do you know what? To be honest, I need to sort my mortgage. That's a client. And that's one client who is very, very, can have a huge influence in that school. And then you get passed on to some teachers, and then the teachers speak to the parents, and then the parents speak to the friends. It will bring there's a lot of effort at the beginning to interview people, but you will reap the rewards over the next 12 months. It would be massive, the first person that does it, I think.
Absolutely. And like you say, it will be a bit of effort at the beginning, but everything isn't it? You're becoming a mortgage broker for the first time. It's more effort when you first start doing it, whatever you're starting out doing. But what an absolute awesome idea. I think, like, we talk about brokers niching and going local and by the local community, Facebook groups and the rest of it. What a great idea in terms of flipping that even more and sort of being the first person to do that in your local area.
Just become your local TV channel. This is what Gary Vee talks about. You should be a media company before anything else. So put yourself out there. And what made me think of this local TV channel was he said he had somebody call up and says, look, I don't know what to do for a business. He says, right, what I would do is, in America, they obviously talk about blocks and corners of their city. Go and stand on a corner and talk. What's your passion? And he's like, I don't know, baseball. Stand on the corner with a microphone and speak to people about baseball. Just record it on your phone, okay? And just have a chat with them. Every Monday morning, you go down and have a chat. You do that for a year, you get a bit of a name for yourself. Further down the line, you then get a local car dealership, turn around and go, tell you what, instead of doing the interview on that street corner, why don't you use one of our cars, like a carpool karaoke that James Corden does,
Yeah.
and drive around the block, and around that block you ask them 10 questions about baseball and we'll pay you. Start making an income from it. Then when you're in the car, well, we want to promote these air fresheners. We'll pay you to put the air fresheners in. Do you know what I mean? And it spirals from there. But you need to put yourself out there in the beginning. And I think, sorry, my Siri was going off. I just think a local TV channel would be absolutely massive.
No, and the thing is as well, if you're already posting local on Facebook and on the community groups and things like that, it's just that next step up. But what a great way! They might have already seen your face in a few posts and things like that from you already from the Facebook group. So it's not as though it's totally fresh, but it's just a different take
A
on
different approach. And it's more and more people are going back to the high street because they want to support local. So then, right, you've interviewed the local butcher, get them a QR code made up on a nice little like a little stand that's like an A5, and say to them that QR code links to that YouTube channel. And all you do is give them the butcher and say, put this on the side. And if anybody wants to watch your video, get them to scan it. Imagine that butcher. They'd be like, guys, I know, there you go. That's your product. You've paid. Thank you. Scan this. You can watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
The amount of people that would be like, do you know what? I've been down here for 30 years and I want to support your butcher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch that video, but they're actually watching you and you're gaining another audience member.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's like giving like the people that you're interviewing, because I learned this from you when we first started talking about people want to see the background, people want to see behind the scenes kind of thing going on. So if you are that butcher, you can explain what goes on behind the scenes in terms of the journey from do you know, from a product point of view, because we talk like about products of the importing, exporting and buying local and that sort of thing. If you've got a butcher that is local and they source locally, sustainability and things like that, you're going to listen to that more and buy from him or her because of they are that local and they are breeding local and buying local as well. Or the baker, their journey to getting to where they are and starting their business up and how they sort of learn the trade. It's then again you're helping the local businesses get their audience as well, like you said before, and
how
getting
lovely
their
is it?
story out
Yeah,
there.
they might have had clients for 30 years going into that butcher's and never really know what goes on behind the scenes. But by watching a half an hour episode that you've done with them, that customer can get to know that butcher even more. So it helps their sales. But then it also, if as that butcher's in the butcher and they get chatting to somebody and they say, oh, my kids are trying to get a house and they can't at the minute. They're having an absolute nightmare. They've been told by the bank no a couple of times. These are conversations that happen in local shops. The butcher goes, oh, well, Craig that I was interviewed the other day on Smith's TV, he's actually a mortgage broker. You should get in touch with him. And again, they're doing the selling for you. So by interviewing these people, it's not just the video content that you're getting from them. It's building that relationship and strengthening yourself in that local area.
I think the thing as well, Chris, with like you said before, it's about from a business point of view, it's not a sales pitch. It's not about ramming it down the throat in terms of I'm the mortgage broker and this is what I'm doing. It is very much about that local community, supporting the local community and building that brand up in that you are the local person for that. And then they'll see you down the street and they will say hello to you because they've seen you on your video and you're the host of the video. So when you are walking down the high street in Smithsville or wherever you live, they will say hello to you. And then that's even building your brand even more because then oh, my mate's I gave your number out the other day to my mate down the pub. He was like, he needed his mortgage sorted out. Oh yeah, he gave me a call. He said, thanks very much. And it's just then you're that local go-to guy.
You're that local go-to person. And then look, you can get a local solicitor on board and you can take like a cut from or a commission from those guys. It's just all about building it up from that conversation. I was going to say something then and I have forgotten where I was going to go with it. But yeah, being that local celebrity, what were we talking about? We were talking about butchers. We were talking about, I'm sure it'll come back to me.
I have those, and to be fair, it was funny because you said that, because there was something else I was gonna do, and I thought, oh, I'll talk about that, and then I've completely forgot. Now I normally write it down at the side, but I was so engrossed in the conversation that I've completely forgot what we.
Yeah.
No, I didn't forgot. It was about that, but I think, like I said, you've got to be you've got to. I know what my point was. You've got to think about this. What we talked about before is, it's not about how much. Well, me investing an hour of my time every single week to do that, or every single month, or whatever the time it is, what's my return? How much am I going to get back for that? It's hard to quantify that, but if you truly want to build that local brand and business, it's not about what you're going to get from it today, because your first video might not get many watches or views, you might not get any leads from it, you might not get anybody referring to it, but it's just, but when that, like you said there, about building that, because when people are moving to that area or looking to move to that area, and they go onto Google and the YouTube channel comes up, and lo and behold, you're that local mortgage broker in that area. I'm moving from this town that's 100 miles away to that town and then you're hosting that, talking to all the local people, and you're a mortgage broker. Well, do you know what? You're the person I'm going to be speaking to, because I'm thinking about moving there, and you're
Yeah.
going to be the person doing my mortgage, because I want to move there. I want to know somebody who knows what the right streets are to live on, and what that house is going to be like, or what that village is going to be like, and living on that side of the street compared to that. So you're going to be that person.
That comes to it, and I'm going to talk about that. Actually, we could use these videos to gain introducers for estate agents, but I've just remembered what I wanted to speak about, and it was you talking about saying it doesn't always have to be about sales. Now, if we think, what is the most annoying TV adverts, and it's the DFS sale ones, okay, because they're ramming sofas down your throats. If you then look at that compared to a Lloyd's banking advert where there's a horse just running down the beach, they talk about nothing about their banking. They just say, we're by your side. That Lloyd's banking advert is more powerful than the DFS one going, we've got a cream sofa for $399. And people respect the Lloyd's one more because they're not being sold to.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how you've got to think about your social media content, is informing them who you are and what you do, but not saying we've got a rate of 3.99%, give us a call. People don't respond well to that kind of content. So that was my point on non-sales content. I've just thought what you could do with your YouTube channel, going back to this. So we've interviewed the local school, we've interviewed the local dog walker, and we've interviewed the local tourist centre. Okay. What I would do is I would compile an email of those 3 videos and go, if you want to know the local area, these are the 3 videos for you. I'd send it to all of the estate agents in the local area and say, anybody that's moving into the area, if you want to send them this video free of charge, you've got no issue, send them this. I've made a handy PDF of the local schools and interviews with all the head people, headmistress, headmasters. I've done the dog walker, the local fish and chip shop, the local butcher, the local baker. And then at the bottom, I've done a tourist centre one interview. Here's 7 videos you can send to your client, send it out. Does 2 things. The first thing, that estate agent might not have a mortgage broker that they refer business to. So straight away, you've opened up lines of communication. They might say, this is really useful, Craig. Thank you. Also, can we have a conversation about introducing? Okay. If the second thing, if they do have a mortgage broker that they refer their business to, what are the chances that mortgage broker would have done anything like that for that estate agent?
Yeah, exactly.
All
That's
they would have
exactly
been
what I was
like is,
thinking.
yeah, the leads you sending me, guys, are crap. Well, Jones Mortgages then turns around and go, do you know what? We're sick of you, because everything we send you, you say is issues. Whereas Craig has created us a PDF for our clients, maybe even put our logo on it for us. There's none of your logos on there. It's just Smith's TV. Actually, we're going to give Craig a go. Imagine how many of those you would get. And then send them to the local tourist board, send them to the local travel agent. Do you know what I mean? Just get them out there. But local accountants, local solicitors. I think if you did that, you would gain, I would say over the course of a year, you'd get 1 introducer a month, I think.
Absolutely. You would, and like you said, what I was thinking there, and you answered my question before I asked it, was about is having that the Smithville or whatever logo on there rather than your own. It's obviously
Mhm.
going to have the estate agent logo on, but it's got that on to then direct people to that channel, and then you control that channel.
Mhm.
You're in control of it. It's your channel. So
Yeah, and what
nobody
I'd
else
do is
can.
make the colours and the branding exactly the same as your
Yeah,
mortgage. So
yeah,
then they can't, again, we were talking about colours, like the blue and orange bus we were talking about earlier. It did have my logo on it, but somebody thought it was my bus
yeah,
and the McLaren. So that's what I would do. Imagine sending it out to an estate agent. Imagine an estate agent sitting there going, bloody hell, I don't have to tell all the buyers in the local area what the best schools are. I
yeah,
can send them interviews from all the headmasters. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? That is so powerful. I might do it myself now. I might
Absolutely.
become a
I think
mortgage advisor.
no, absolutely cracking. I think, like you said, and it's a total, like you said, it's a totally different approach, and
Mhm,
nobody will have thought of that way approach because it's yes, we've all done it. Contact introducers. Have you got a mortgage broker you're referring to? Yes, we are. We're happy already. Well, here's my details just in case anything changes. On
mhm.
to the next one. On to the next one. It's you've got to flip it all on its head with something like that to look at getting introduced on board and doing something different that's going to add value for
Yeah.
them. That
That's
that is
exactly what I
it.
was gonna say. That's adding value to the estate agent. You're not asking for any business whatsoever. Here's a handy PDF that shows you all the local schools, all the local businesses, and there's some YouTube links in there as well that interview. What will happen is that the staff, the estate agency staff, will probably watch those videos because when I was an estate agent, I'd have been like, whoa, look at this.
Yeah,
Watch the videos and gone, guys, have you seen this? Like this guy's interviewing local people.
yeah,
Actually, couldn't we be interviewed by them? And
yeah.
then Craig then goes and does an interview with them and then goes, do you know what, guys? We've had an hour chat. I really get on with you, Craig. I'm fed up with our mortgage advisor. They just give us rubbish. They just don't do anything for us. Can we set up an agreement? That's a
Absolutely.
new introducer.
Yeah. And it's just that you're not being direct or sold to or pitching or
Mhm.
doing the same as what everybody the other brokers doing trying to win the introducer business. It's just a totally
Exactly.
different
And it,
approach.
it works. I'll give you an example of my podcast. I have had one particular guest I have had on 2 or 3 times, and we never looked after their socials at the beginning. I said, can you come on the podcast and talk about your business? I never pitched about our business, told them what we did. And then after 3 times, they came to a point where they were changing social media companies. And all they did, sent me a message and say, Chris, can we have a chat about socials now? Now, that was me. It was a year of us doing podcast episodes. I never pitched once because I don't get people on my podcast to pitch to them. I never want that. I want
No.
to have a chat with them and build a relationship. So then, if they ever want their social media, they think of us. And that's exactly what happened. You can do exactly the same if you were to set up a local TV channel on YouTube.
I think that's like you say, it's exactly you could do exactly the same. Nobody wants to be pitched to or sold to. It's about building that, it's about rapport building, it's about that trust and then knowing that because having for an estate agent working with a mortgage broker, it's a big deal, especially in the current market where everybody's fighting over instructions. They want to win the business for getting the property on the market. And if you're just like you say, it's, if they've got that somebody that they know and trust who's going to offer that same levels of service as they do, they're going to refer to, then it's a winner. Whereas if they've got at the moment, some of the estate agents I see are reluctant to refer clients to their mortgage broker because their service is substandard to what
Mhm.
theirs is as an estate agent, and that's the last thing that you need. Whereas, yeah, it's just a different way altogether.
And the estate agent can see that if you're the kind of person that's going out there interviewing people in the local area, they know you've got something about you. And I appreciate it would be very hard in the initial instance because you've got to run your business, you've got to do videos and things like that in between. But all I would do is say, right, on a Tuesday, I'm booking out from 8 till 8. I'm having a full day of going out and interviewing everyone. All you need is your phone. You don't need any fancy equipment, tripod, put it lengthways and record a conversation with people, or do it like this: jump on a Zoom call and record it with them. I
Yeah,
know you guys use StreamYard, but you
it
jump on
doesn't
a
matter.
Zoom call, record it, and people will be very nervous. I appreciate that because your local butcher that's been going 30 years has probably like only done a handful of video calls, so they will be nervous. But it's just a chat at the end of the day. That's all you need to say to people.
And if you're going out you can sort of, they're in their space, so maybe sat in the back of the office or back in the back of the retail store. It's then, or in the school, and the headmaster in their office, they're going to feel more comfortable and relaxed than they are being outside or being in a
Yeah,
different environment they're not used to. So it will be easy that way. So if you have got somebody that is nervous and that, well, just put them in the comfort zone. And then if they're in the comfort zone, this is taking them out of the comfort zone, absolutely. But if you're in a comfortable environment, then they're more likely to build rapport, get them to open up,
exactly.
and it will get them talking.
And you've got to think, and this will be my final thing on this, if you do those videos 8 till 8 and you get them talking and they're in their comfort space, I reckon out of say if you managed 5 interviews, I would probably say 4 of them would say to you, I need to speak to you about my mortgage, because it's so easy for them to just turn around and go, or they will pass details
Yeah.
on of somebody. So that day won't be wasted. How else can you sit down with somebody for an hour and a half and chat to them, or an hour, day to day? People wouldn't give you that time, but
No.
you're helping promote their business. So they will turn around and say, to be honest with you, yeah, Craig, can I just book in a quick chat with you guys about my mortgage? Yeah, that's fine. And you've got that time back from doing those videos. You've probably got 4 out of the 5 leads, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you as I always say, you're building a long-term business, aren't you? It's not like you're not looking at building a mortgage broker business that you're going to run away in 6 months' time or a year's time. It's building a long-term mortgage broker business in your local area. So,
Yeah.
Chris, we had no agenda. We sort of said, let's
I've
just
got for
have a
45
chat.
minutes.
I know, and we've done 45 minutes of just, but it was great. And this is what I love about the podcast, is just having that no agenda and just chatting. Nuggets like golden nuggets like this come out and thinking, wow, like, wow. And if I was the brokers that be listening to this, and the ones they're thinking, I can do that. I could look to do that. I'm doing some content already. It's a totally different approach to what I've done before. What a great idea. So yeah, that's cracking.
And you can use that content of the YouTube video, you can chop it up and use it for, when I say chop it up, you can trim little like 30-second clips like Craig does. And you can use those on your social channels. You just upload a post saying, we spoke to Jane at the local shop that do X, Y, and Z. And this is what she had to say about the growth of the company over the last 12 months. Jane's going to share that to her social media audience, because we all love hearing the sound of our own voice. And then all Jane's friends are going to be like, Jane, this is amazing. Your business is on social. We're going to share it. Before long, your audience, maybe say only 200 people follow your page, but it's grown to 5,000 people because Jane and 10 of her friends have shared that video.
Mhm.
Again, they don't care about Craig, the mortgage broker that's interviewing, but they care about Jane. And that's why they will go and share Jane's content.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Chris, absolutely awesome. Yeah, absolutely good word. Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to come back on. Thank you for sharing that, and
Loved it.
and again trusting me to have a open agenda and really just having a chat and a catch up and see what's going on. But thank you so much for your time.
No problem. If you want to catch me on socials, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's Social for Brokers, or Chris Targett on LinkedIn. Connect with us on there. As Craig said, we give away loads of tips on Canva, social media in general. So yeah, send me a message. I'll be up for a chat.
We'll make sure you get tagged in and everything like that as well, Chris.
Awesome.
So making sure that everybody knows, how to reach out to you. So, mate, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for agreeing to come back on and sharing that.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. If you have any questions about this podcast or any topics you want us to discuss, or if you're interested in working with me further, then please get in touch.